Wait, what if the most shocking part of this week on The Young and the Restless isn't the blindness, the prison meeting, or even Cane's unbelievable deal, but the possibility that several people in Genoa City are quietly making desperate choices before the full truth comes out? Because that's the feeling hanging over these spoilers. A powerful woman opens her eyes and sees nothing. A master manipulator may be bargaining from the shadows. A family already built on control is starting to crack under fear. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, people who think they're managing the crisis may actually be pushing it into something far worse. You're watching Soap Pulse. I'm Anderson, and if you like deep dive soap investigations with real tension and layered fallout, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Because this story doesn't just spiral, it exposes everybody. The first thing that makes these early spoilers hit so hard is that the emotional center isn't a business takeover or a revenge plot. It's Nikki Newman, one of the most iconic figures in Genoa City, sitting in a doctor's office hoping for good news and getting the kind of answer that changes the emotional temperature of an entire family. That alone would be enough to anchor a major week. But this is not unfolding in isolation. Nikki's devastating appointment happens while Victor is tracking threats, while Phyllis is doubling down on a man many people around her consider dangerous, while Tracy is preparing to walk back into the orbit of a deeply unsettling figure from her past, and while Cane Ashby is apparently making a bargain so strange and so significant that it may redraw alliances in ways viewers do not yet fully understand. So right away, the question is not simply, what happens next? The question is, why do all of these storylines feel like they're vibrating with the same underlying theme? Fear. Fear of loss, fear of vulnerability, fear of being outmaneuvered, fear that the people you trust are either lying to you or lying to themselves. And if that sounds dramatic, it should, because the most gripping weeks on a soap are never just about events. They're about what those events reveal. Let's start where the emotional gut punch lands hardest. Nikki goes in hoping the doctor will tell her the darkness is temporary, that healing is around the corner, that the nightmare has an end point. Victor tells Nick and Victoria that Nikki is terrified she may be permanently blind, and that line matters because it reframes Nikki not as a glamorous Newman matriarch controlling the room, but as a woman facing something brutally human, the fear that life as she knows it may never return. For longtime viewers, that is a jarring image. Nikki is many things. She's proud, polished, resilient, complicated, sometimes wounded, sometimes formidable. But helpless is not the word people associate with her, and that's exactly why the spoiler moment is so powerful. In the doctor's office, when the bandages come off and Nikki opens her eyes only to say, "It is all black, I can't see anything," the scene stops being plot and becomes trauma. Victor kissing her head in that moment is not just a gesture of support, it's an acknowledgement that for once, money, power, intimidation, and influence cannot fix the immediate reality in front of him. And that is a terrifying position for Victor Newman to be in. He can investigate people, he can move assets, he can crush enemies, but he cannot command sight back into Nikki's eyes. That loss of control may be just as emotionally devastating for him as the blindness is for her, and viewers should pay close attention to that. Because whenever Victor feels powerless in one area, he tends to overcompensate somewhere else. That pattern may matter a lot before this week is over. Nikki is brought home surrounded by Victor, Nick, Victoria, and Claire, all trying to stay hopeful, all trying to project strength, and yet the spoilers suggest Nikki herself is already slipping into a darker internal space. She insists on taking herself up a relationship with the self. Nikki cannot see herself, and in frustration, grief, or rage, she destroys the object that symbolizes seeing. That is the kind of image that stays with an audience, not because it's loud, but because it tells the truth about what blindness in a soap story often really represents. It's not just a medical condition, it's disorientation, it's the collapse of certainty. It's the terrifying possibility that the image you built your life around no longer matches who you are in the dark. And if you think that emotional fracture won't ripple outward, think again. The Newmans do not suffer quietly. They react. Nick, Victoria, Claire, and Victor are all reportedly growing more concerned, all hoping Nikki's sight returns. But if it does not return quickly, the emotional consequences could get much more dangerous than the physical condition itself. Will Nikki lean on family? Will she withdraw? Will she lash out? Will she try to control the narrative even while privately unraveling? These are not minor questions. They're the heart of the psychological suspense. Because people rarely reveal their deepest truths when they are winning. They reveal them when their normal coping mechanisms stop working. That is why some viewers are already asking the question that the show itself seems to be teasing but not fully delivering yet. Where is Adam in all of this? Adam, unlike anyone else in the family, has lived through blindness. He knows what that darkness feels like from the inside. He understands the humiliation, the anger, the dependence, the disorientation. So if the show uses him in Nikki's orbit, even briefly, it could provide one of the most emotionally honest conversations of the week. But there is also a risk here, and fans know it. Adam is often brought near big emotional material only to be shoved to the side once the plot machinery accelerates. If that happens again, viewers will notice because the missed opportunity would be enormous. A shared experience like that could soften old fractures or reopen them in a completely different way. And if it doesn't happen, the absence itself may feel telling. While Nikki's crisis takes center stage emotionally, Victor is simultaneously dealing with another kind of threat, the ongoing Matt problem. He checks Matt's ankle monitor and sees the man was at the GCAC all night. Nick reports that Phyllis was making out with Matt and took him upstairs. Now pause there, because this is where the storyline starts to get deeply uncomfortable in a way the audience cannot ignore. According to the spoiler framing, Phyllis wakes up with Matt sleeping on the sofa in her hotel room, wonders why he is not in bed with her, and treats his hesitation like evidence of restraint and decency. The script the story seems to be writing around him is provocative, perhaps deliberately so, because it places Phyllis in a posture of emotional and maybe even romantic investment in a man others see as a serious threat. And whether viewers interpret that as reckless loneliness, trauma-driven denial, contrarian stubbornness, or plain bad writing, the result is the same. The entire town is going to react. Nick is furious Phyllis wants Matt to stay in Genoa City. He is upset she does not think Matt is dangerous. And this may be where the show touches a nerve far deeper than a standard triangle. Because Phyllis is not merely dating someone disapproved of by her ex or by Victor, she appears to be taking ownership of him, defending him, offering him work, offering him a future, and possibly making herself the central advocate for the one person the rest of Genoa City least wants normalized. That is not just rebellion, that borders on obsession. According to the spoilers, Matt even asks Phyllis to buy him breakfast because he's broke, and she responds by taking him to society and offering him a job at Arabesque. Think about what that says psychologically. A woman surrounded by chaos, often at war with judgmental people, may be choosing the most controversial man available and casting herself as the one person who sees the humanity nobody else will acknowledge. That can feel intoxicating to someone like Phyllis. It can also be catastrophically self-deceptive. Supporters of Phyllis will argue she is resisting the Newman habit of deciding who gets redeemed and who doesn't. And the more she doubles down, the more both sides will harden. That's why the phrase about a possible twisted custody battle over Matt between Phyllis and Victor is so revealing. On paper, it sounds outrageous. In practice, it makes perfect soap sense. Matt is becoming symbolic territory. He is not just a man anymore, he is a test case. If Phyllis can keep him in her world, she proves she cannot be controlled. If Victor can drive him out, he proves the Newmans still define the terms of safety, power, and morality in Genoa City. And Nick is right in the middle of that fault line. That may be the most dangerous part. Because if Nick is already angry, already worried, already watching Phyllis bind herself emotionally to someone he sees as toxic, then the spoiler speculation that this situation could push him toward relapse does not feel random. It feels ominous. Addiction storylines are never only about the substance, they're about pressure, powerlessness, history, and pain arriving all at once until the person feels they have no healthy outlet left. If Nick is forced to watch Nikki suffer, Phyllis self-destruct, Victor manipulate, and Matt remain in town under Phyllis's protection, then the emotional load starts looking unsustainable. That doesn't mean a relapse is guaranteed. It means the conditions for one are building in plain sight. And viewers who know this show know how dangerous unresolved pressure can become when the people around you are too busy fighting to notice what's happening inside you. Now let's move into one of the creepiest and most fascinating developments of the week, Tracy's decision to use Martin Laurent to get to Dr. Markham. This storyline has the eerie pulse of a psychological thriller dropped directly into a soap universe, and honestly, that contrast is part of what makes it so compelling. Tracy sits at her laptop while Kyle, Jack, and Diane hide out of view, listening as Martin calls in on video chat. Right away, the setup feels tense because the power dynamic is so strange. Tracy needs information. Martin knows it. Martin appears eager to help, but only on terms that keep emotional control in his hands. He confirms he knows Markham through Alan and through his own twisted history of impersonation and deception. He calls Markham a sociopath, then admits it takes one to know one. That line, if played well, should send a chill through the audience. Why? Because it is self-awareness without remorse. It is a predator speaking with the language of insight, and those are often the most dangerous people to deal with because they understand how monstrous certain behaviors are without being morally stopped by that understanding. Tracy tells Martin that Markham helped a disturbed woman wreak havoc on her family and that Diane was kidnapped. She wants the summer house location. He wants something in return. Of course he does. He wants Tracy to come see him in person at the prison, not a phone call, not a message, in person. And then he says he still loves her. That is where the scene shifts from strategic to deeply unsettling. Because now Tracy is not just negotiating for information, she is being emotionally pulled back into proximity with a man whose language, tone, and leverage all carry an undercurrent of control. Diane hates that Tracy had to go through this. Jack and Kyle are concerned, and yet Tracy reportedly still plans to go because she wants to prove she is not scared of Martin. That is admirable on one level. It is also the kind of brave decision that often precedes disaster in soap storytelling. The question viewers should be asking is not simply whether Tracy can handle Martin. The question is whether Martin's demand is really about information at all. Or is it about reasserting psychological presence? Is he testing whether he can still make Tracy come to him? Is he proving that even from confinement he can rearrange the emotional geometry of the Abbott family? And if Tracy does go, what exactly does Martin think he gets out of that meeting besides the satisfaction of seeing her face again? That's why this storyline feels dangerous in a way that goes beyond spoilers. It is laced with unfinished emotional business, and unfinished emotional business is where smart, decent characters often make their worst choices. Diane's instinct is to find the summer house another way, maybe before Tracy ever steps foot inside that prison psych ward. That is the rational approach. But soaps thrive on the collision between rational strategy and emotional necessity. Tracy does not just want the information, she wants to prove something to herself. She wants to show Martin he does not own her fear. Noble motivation, terrible terrain, those combinations are almost always explosive. And if Martin gives her exactly enough truth to make the meeting seem worth it, then viewers may end up watching one of those classic Y and R scenarios where a character enters with confidence and walks out psychologically shaken in ways they didn't anticipate. While all of that tension builds, Adam and Chelsea are reportedly making a power move designed to impress Victor, or at least appear to. The spoilers suggest they may be trying to convince Victor they'll be ruthless with Sally and forcibly take Newman Media from her. If that's the angle, then we need to be honest about how suspicious this setup already looks. Victor knows Adam. He knows his son's ambition, his weaknesses, his flair for manipulation, and his often messy mixture of sincerity and strategy. So, if Adam suddenly starts selling a story that he's prepared to steamroll Sally, one of the first questions Victor is likely to ask himself is whether he's being shown a performance. Chelsea being involved only sharpens that suspicion because together they can be formidable, persuasive, and entirely too polished when they think they're the smartest people in the room. That doesn't mean their plan fails. It means the tension is not in whether they can lie convincingly to a stranger. It's whether they can lie convincingly to Victor Newman while he is simultaneously distracted by Nikki's suffering and therefore perhaps more dangerous than usual. Stress does not always make Victor sloppy. Sometimes it makes him even more paranoid, more intuitive, and more punishing. If Adam is trying to pull wool over Victor's eyes, he had better remember that Victor has spent decades living in a world where deceit is the native language. Sally and Audra, of course, are key pieces here too, because Adam is waiting on their answer about whether they'll accept his deal. That means another suspense point emerges. Are they walking into an alliance that empowers them, or a trap that turns them into pawns in Adam's private game with his father? Audra especially is not known for stepping blindly into emotional theater, so if she says yes, viewers should assume she sees an angle. But seeing an angle and controlling an angle are not the same thing. Then there is Nick's confession to Sharon, one of those spoiler notes that may seem quiet until you really consider how loaded it could be. What does Nick confess? Is it about Nikki? Is it about his addiction history? Is it about Phyllis and Matt? The uncertainty itself is useful because it creates pressure in multiple directions at once. If he tells Sharon about Phyllis and Matt, that could set off a whole other wave of reaction. If he confesses fear over his own stability, the storyline deepens into something more vulnerable. If he admits he feels helpless while Nikki suffers, the confession becomes less about romance and more about emotional exhaustion. Whatever the content, confessions on this show rarely arrive unless the character is carrying more than he can comfortably contain, and right now, Nick has plenty to contain. That brings us to Cane Ashby and the deal. So shocking the audience is being told they need to see it to believe it. Cane striking a bargain can mean many things in Genoa City, and that ambiguity is what makes it such potent teaser material. A bargain with Lily would thrill viewers who still see unfinished emotional electricity there. A bargain with Billy over Chancellor would trigger a very different kind of tension, one built on ambition, ego, and corporate chess. A bargain with Holden or another wildcard figure could suggest Cane is quietly assembling something bigger than anyone realizes. But what makes this spoiler especially juicy is not just who the bargain is with, it's why he needs one now. Cane is not the kind of character who makes quiet moves without a broader design in mind. If he's bargaining, he's positioning. And if he's positioning during a week when the Newmans are distracted, the Abbotts are rattled, and multiple women across town are in states of emotional upheaval, then the real question becomes whether Cane sees an opening others are too stressed to notice. Sometimes the most dangerous deals are not the ones made in desperation. They are the ones made by the person in the room who seems calm because he understands everyone else is reacting instead of thinking. That could be Cane's advantage. And if the deal does involve Lily in some fun, flirty, surprising way, then even that lighter energy may have strategic consequences. Romance on soaps often gets underestimated by the characters inside the story. A flirtation is never just a flirtation if it shifts loyalty, confidence, timing, or access. Billy and Sally, meanwhile, discover Jill has been keeping a secret, and that one line may end up haunting the week more than people expect. Jill's secrets are rarely decorative. They are usually plot detonators in elegant packaging. If the secret concerns her health, as many might fear, then everything around Chancellor and Billy instantly changes emotional color. Now, business becomes inheritance adjacent, frustration becomes guilt adjacent, distance becomes potential regret. This is where good soap writing can turn a corporate thread into a family reckoning almost overnight. Billy learning Jill kept something major from him would hit on multiple levels because their relationship has always carried sharp edges, love, disappointment, and power conflict all braided together. Sally being beside him when the truth starts surfacing could make her either a stabilizing force or a witness to a spiral. Either possibility matters. And let's not overlook Ashley and Devon finding common ground. On a week with so many louder storylines, this could be easy to dismiss, but that would be a mistake. If Ashley is trying to help with tension around Abby and Devon, then she is entering a marriage dynamic already sensitive to anger, pride, and communication issues. Ashley leaving Genoa City soon only adds poignancy. Sometimes the advice that matters most comes right before someone exits the stage. Sometimes it lands too late. The possibility that Ashley's conversation with Devon might be about anger management, emotional regulation, or how Abby is coping introduces another thematic echo to the entire week. Men who believe they're protecting something but may actually be damaging it through force, secrecy, or rigidity. That theme is everywhere. Victor with control, Nick with pressure, Adam with manipulation, Martin with psychological leverage, Cane with strategy, even Matt with his ambiguous presence in Phyllis's life. And that pattern is what gives the week such strong documentary-style texture. It is not random chaos. It is a city full of people trying to master situations that may already be beyond mastery. Now add Christine into the mix, because according to the spoilers, we may learn whether the district attorney is willing to make some sort of offer to Patty to get damaging information on Victor. That is one of those developments that can swing from tantalizing to explosive in a heartbeat. Christine is already furious that Victor fabricated evidence and had Victoria deliver false information, leading to an arrest she later had to drop. That matters because it weakens the illusion that Victor can always operate above consequence. If Christine now sees Patty as a possible route to the goods on Victor, then the legal and moral pressure on him could intensify, just as Nikki's medical crisis leaves him personally exposed. Again, notice the pattern. Victor is strongest when he can divide his battles and dominate them one by one. But here, the fronts are multiplying: family pain, legal exposure, corporate maneuvering, romantic disorder around Nick and Phyllis. A patriarch under that kind of pressure often becomes more dangerous, not less. Which is why his skepticism about certain developments next week could become one of the most important undercurrents in the whole story. Victor skeptical is not passive. Victor skeptical is hunting. And if he decides Adam, Chelsea, Phyllis, or anyone else is trying to play him while Nikki suffers, the response could be ruthless. That's one reason I think the Nikki storyline may be the emotional core, but not necessarily the biggest consequence generator. The biggest consequence generator may be what Nikki's pain does to the people orbiting her, especially Victor. Claire's concern should not be overlooked either. Claire remains in a fragile but increasingly important position inside this family ecosystem. Watching Nikki face blindness could deepen Claire's empathy, deepen her loyalty, or deepen her sense that the Newmans are always one bad turn away from emotional catastrophe. Her presence beside Nick, Victoria, and Victor at the doctor and afterwards suggests she is being folded into the family's intimate pain, and once a character is inside that circle, everything they witness becomes part of how they interpret future power struggles. That matters more than it may seem right now. And then there is Phyllis, doubling down. That phrase alone tells you everything about her trajectory. She is not wavering. She is not reconsidering. She is planting her flag. Viewers who love Phyllis will recognize the familiar fire in that choice. Viewers who fear for her will hear the warning bell. There is a difference between refusing to be told what to do and refusing to see what everyone else sees. Phyllis often lives right on that line. Sometimes she's the only one brave enough to challenge the town consensus. Sometimes she's the last person in the room to admit she's being played. The tragedy of her dynamic with Matt may be that both possibilities are alive at once. She may be exposing hypocrisy in the way Genoa City decides who deserves another chance. She may also be walking straight into disaster because she wants to be the exception to the rule. That is the kind of contradiction that makes audiences unable to look away. And it's why this story doesn't feel like a recap. It feels like an investigation into motives hiding beneath spoilers. What is Phyllis really defending? Matt? Herself? Her need to be right? Her refusal to let Nick or Victor dictate her emotional life? Maybe all of it. The same question applies to Tracy. Is she really proving she's not afraid of Martin, or is she compelled by unfinished emotional business she hasn't fully named? What about Victor? Is he really protecting Nikki and the family, or is he about to use Nikki's suffering as justification to tighten his grip on everything else? What about Adam? Is he really making a move to secure power, or is he running another layered scheme that will collapse the second Victor spots the soft spot in it? And what about Cane? Is his bargain reactive, romantic, strategic, or all three? The brilliance of this spoiler cluster is that nearly every storyline contains a visible action and a hidden motive. That is catnip for an audience that loves intrigue. By the time we approach the back half of the week, the emotional weather in Genoa City may feel radically different from how it began. Nikki's blindness could transform from shocking diagnosis into ongoing family crisis. Tracy's prison meeting could become one of the most suspenseful scenes on the board if it actually happens. Adam's performance for Victor could either gain traction or trigger suspicion. Jill's secret could land with more emotional force than expected. Nick's internal pressure could mount. Phyllis could become even more entrenched. And all the while, the audience will be watching Cane's bargain like it's the loose thread on a designer's sleeve that might unravel half the jacket if you pull it. The most compelling storytelling choice the show can make here is not to rush any of these payoffs too quickly. Let the dread breathe. Let the audience sit with Nikki smashing that mirror. Let them sit with Martin saying he still loves Tracy. Let them sit with Phyllis feeding breakfast and a job offer to a man everyone else wants gone. Let them sit with Victor pretending he has options where he may have none. Because suspense is not just shock. Suspense is the space between what people say they're doing and what we fear they're really setting in motion. And that's what makes this entire week feel so loaded. Every storyline contains that gap. Every character is standing in it. If you step back and look at the broader picture, this is a story about sight in more ways than one. Nikki literally cannot see. Victor may not fully see what his family is becoming under pressure. Phyllis may not see the risk in the man she's defending. Nick may not see how close he is to the edge. Tracy may not see what Martin's invitation is really designed to extract from her. Adam may believe he can blind Victor to the truth, and Cane may be the one person seeing the board most clearly while everyone else is distracted. That's why the shock deal teaser and Nikki being crushed do more than sell drama. Together, they define the week's emotional architecture. One woman loses visual certainty, one man may gain strategic ground, and around them, a whole city starts operating in conditions where clear vision, moral or literal, is suddenly in short supply. That is a fantastic setup for a premium soap week because it forces every character to reveal how they function when certainty disappears. Do they cling tighter? Do they lie more smoothly? Do they bargain? Do they break? Do they risk prison visits, corporate plays, emotional relapses, and deeply questionable alliances because the alternative is admitting they're scared? Near the end of all this, I think the biggest revelation may not be the content of Cane's bargain or even whether Nikki's sight comes back quickly. The biggest revelation may be about emotional survival. Who in Genoa City can survive uncertainty without becoming someone uglier? Nikki may have the hardest road physically, but others may be facing equally brutal moral tests. Victor could decide control is love. Phyllis could decide defiance is loyalty. Nick could decide silence is strength. Tracy could decide courage means walking into the lion's mouth. Adam could decide manipulation is protection. Cane could decide timing is everything, but viewers know better. Or at least they should. Because in worlds like this, the decisions made under the banner of necessity are often the ones that leave the deepest scars. And that's why these spoilers are so effective. They promise drama, yes, but beneath the surface they're asking a much darker question. When the lights go out, literally or emotionally, who are these people really? Not when they're glamorous. Not when they're winning, not when the family portrait is polished and the power is intact, but when fear takes over, when control slips, when the wrong person becomes irresistible, when the dangerous person offers information, when the parent keeps a secret, when the son starts lying to impress the father, when the woman who sees herself as strongest feels the mirror become useless. That is the week ahead. Not just blindness, not just bargains, not just secrets, exposure. And if the show delivers on even half of the emotional tension these spoilers are pointing toward, viewers won't just be watching to see what happens next. They'll be watching to figure out who, if anyone, still knows the difference between strength and self-destruction. Because once Nikki says it's all black, Genoa City doesn't just lose a little light. It loses the illusion that anyone here is truly in control. And from that moment on, every deal, every confession, every prison visit, every family promise, and every act of denial feels like it could be the move that changes everything.